Hey, you guys, and welcome to American Culture. Those of you who are following around know that each day I kind of read a chapter from this book that I'm writing. And today we're on chapter 3, which the title is I Am Who You Say I Am. But I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. I'm not going to read you the whole chapter because it's quite long and fabulous. And I really kind of want that to be left for the book. But I am going to give you like a little bit of an outline. And so the first thing that I want you guys to do is ask yourself this question. What condition are you in today? Now, you guys know I kind of like experiment when I come up with things. So I randomly ask, people I know my questions. And I asked a friend of mine and my mom, what condition are you in today? And both of them were like, well, what do you mean? And so I mean, overall, my friend said that they were doing fair. Great. My mom was like, I'm good, not quite excellent. And so the thing is, I ask you, what do you expect to get when you're just fair? What do you expect to receive? A lot of people, they don't realize that condition or that state of being is what determines what you actually receive. We live in a consumer-based society, which means you have something valuable, I want it, and I'm going to exchange your value for my value. And so when you walk around saying that your value isn't very high, but you expect to experience these very great and high experiences, are we beginning to see the disconnect? A lot of times people, they don't realize that. I had the conversation with my mom. I said, listen, here's the thing. If you have a 2010 Honda Accord, one of them has 50,000 miles and has been driven by a little old grandma. That one could probably take you to the mountains of Juneau, Alaska. However, you could have the same 2010 Honda Accord at 158,000 miles on it, driven by a complete moron. And guess what? That thing's not making it around the block. Same car. The only thing that's changed is its actual condition or its state of being. That determines where you're going to be able to go, what you're going to be able to do, and the experience that you're going to receive in return. I'll give you a last example of this. If you had $500 for a brand new iPhone and it costs $500, or they said there's this good one, it's also $500. The first thing you would ask, well, is the good one going to be less? If the good one's not going to cost you any less money, you're going to get the brand new one for the $500. You would never settle and say, you know what, let me spend full price on something that's not really worthy of it. And a lot of us, we're expecting that. We're expecting to get paid full price for something that's not worthy of receiving that. We expect all of somebody's time, all their effort, all their attention, all their diligence, all their everything, when we're not exactly doing the stuff that's worthy to receive any of that. You see, God doesn't explain identity the way that most people do. Most people, they identify with titles and different roles that they play. And they neglect to realize that the title is nothing without the characteristics that create it. And so when God looks at us, he doesn't see us as titles, he sees us as characteristics. You can even go back to the Bible when, I think it's in Exodus, God was talking to Moses and he had something important and he wanted to tell him, go tell these people this. And Moses was like, who should I tell them sent me? And God said, tell them I am sent you. Now, like I said, I always thought that was somewhat of a flex, like, you don't even need a name, just I am. But what that means is how I recognize myself means state of being. So when God is saying, tell them that I am sent you, tell them the vehicle that brought you here, the vessel that sustains you, what gives you life, moves you forward, is your state of being. That's the reason why they're like, take on your Christ consciousness and be like God. Because once you start taking on God's thoughts, then you start taking on his action. Once you start taking on God's thoughts, then you get to be in the state of being like God. And when you are in the state of being like God, you should receive the same life that God would receive, which is one of abundance, prosperity, joy, love, and free flowing, and all that other good stuff. So what happens with the majority of us is we completely go our entire lives not paying any attention to these characteristics, not really growing them, cultivating them. I like to tell people the fruits of the Spirit are very important. We don't cultivate kindness, we don't cultivate generosity, we don't cultivate peace, we don't grow those things because we're not paying attention to that as being a key characteristic to become whatever title we need to have. And unless we think we have to have it in order to get where we're going to go with it, we don't really pay that much attention to it. But see, not paying attention to your actual character and helping yourself to develop a good one leaves you feeling very mediocre. And you don't feel happy, and you don't feel joyful, and you feel kind of sad and kind of down, and life starts to say, yeah, it makes sense for you to feel this way. No different than the friend who said they felt fair. You get to a point to where you categorize yourself as lacking, having less than, being stressed out, the whole 9 yards. Before you know it, you're in a state of being that could never support the growth that you want to have. You can't expect to receive glory and excellence constantly feeling like crap. It just doesn't work that way. So this whole chapter is basically about people getting the understanding that the way that God identifies you is not through a whole bunch of titles that you possess and what it means, once you become a doctor or a mom, or that's not it. God sees you as a state of being, and being in the highest, the happiest, the most joyous state of being is good for everybody, including yourself, because from there, you're capable of receiving great and better things. If you are a Chanel jacket that is in condition, you're worth $45. If you're the same Chanel jacket that is impeccable, mint, worn by XYZ famous person and never put on again, you're worth an exponential amount of money. It's the condition of you, your state of being, the togetherness, the wholeness determines your value. And in this consumer-based society where people and things want to give you your value and nothing more, your value needs to be high for you to receive high value things. Not just the perception of value that other people have, but the perception of value that you hold within yourself. And so, for those of you who are going through a little bit of a struggle in life, you got to ask yourself, well, what condition am I in? Am I always sad, angry, upset, unhappy? Well, a life around me should support that. Because how are you staying there if you're not around things that support you being there? And again, that's a different story for another day. So yeah, God doesn't want us to see ourselves as human doings, as titles and things like that. He wants us to see ourselves as human beings, knowing that what we're being is what sends us. If you're being nice, that's your motivator. If you're being kind, that's your motivator. If you're being angry, that's your motivator. That's what moves you. That's what holds you. That's what shows up as value in the next space. And if you're constantly like, life sucks, I suck, I don't want to be, all that other stuff, then you're not going to get a good reality to formulate around that. Because in order for you to stay in that life sucks state of being, then things around you have to start to suck too. Ding! So that turns into you turning into a product of your environment, the nature versus nurture issue, all this other stuff, the different ways that we identify. But again, such a good chapter, and I can't wait till you guys have the book and can actually read it. But since I had some strange things happen today and your girl is tired, we'll have the chit chat tomorrow. Have a blessed night, friends.